some years ago, we were approached by a gentleman who was interested in monitoring the quality of water in streams within the Rivanna watershed. And the Rivanna Conservation Society agreed to serve as an umbrella organization while they were getting started to provide insurance and to help them with their fiscal issues. And the Thomas Jefferson Soil and Water Conservation District served as the organization that allowed them to receive monies from state funds or other sources, and it became a very strong program. Fairly early on, it was determined that by the Streamwatch group that they should be separate from RCS. They were very serious about ensuring that their data would not be questioned because of their affiliation with a group that had so many irons in the fire, and one of those being as a kind of a watchdog, a local watchdog group dealing with the local communities on growth issues, development and such. And so when it was possible for them, they broke out as their own private nonprofit organization. And Streamwatch has done a great job of monitoring streams in the Rivanna watershed for over 10 years probably, and their data is good quality data, and it's used as official data by DEQ. But over time, it became obvious that the need to be separate was becoming overshadowed by the need to be unified. It's becoming increasingly more difficult to find the funding to operate organizations like Rivanna Conservation Society and Streamwatch, and there were others on the horizon. And so in the last several years, there have been discussions about the organizations coming back together. And in the last year, that has been a very concentrated discussion, and there's been a lot of effort, particularly in this past 6 to 8 months, over how that might be achieved, and it has come to fruition. As of January 1, there will no longer be a Rivanna Conservation Society, nor will there be a Streamwatch. It will be the Rivanna Conservation Alliance. And we hope that this will be assigned to all, the community at large, and people who are generous enough to fund activities like conservation and stream monitoring, that we're willing to give up our identities, if you will, and join forces so that we can get more bang for everyone's buck by not seeming to be competing for the same money. And I think the fact that it has happened the way it's happened is a testament to just how serious all of the players are. It's not been an easy task for staff or for the boards that have been negotiating this. But the fact that it has happened, and the fact that it is all coming together so smoothly, I think just shows how serious all of these players are about ensuring that we continue to educate and conserve and monitor in the most cost-effective manner, and as a unified front. And so it's really exciting. In our 25th year anniversary of the Rivanna Conservation Society, and in that same breath, we are transitioning to something new and different.
A challenge that I would like someday to see addressed is to create a water budget for the area, for the watershed. Most people look at it and say it's too hard because it's math. And it is, it's really ugly math. To me, the bottom line is we get approximately 50 inches of rain a year, a little less than that. That is certain land mass. You can do the math, figure out how many gallons per year that is. And then it gets really ugly to figure out how much living things need, like trees, and how much is then left over for streams. And then we can start to get some idea of how much we can draw out of the ground without impacting the river, and how much development we can really sustainably have in this part of the world. I think one of the reasons nobody wants to look at it is that it's a hard number that has a ceiling, and you can't go beyond that without knowing you're messing up. But I think it would be better to know that before we messed up than after we messed up, so that's a challenge. Well, and the TMDLs are saying how much bad junk you can put in the water and still be okay. I'd really like to get down to how much water is there. That, I mean, certainly we can use it until the river doesn't run. We can pull down groundwater enough that will dry up the streams and springs that feed the river, and the river will dry up. That's an undesirable outcome. And this goes back to the very early days when we were looking at minimum in-stream flows. That is something that humans can impact to a certain degree. Now in droughts, it's going to run low, and in wet years, it's going to run higher. But just having a grip on how much water actually is available on an annual basis in this watershed is not beyond our brain power.
Minimum in-stream flow is really important. We tried to do it for recreational needs with, I guess it was DEQ, is that correct?
DCR at the top.
DCR.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got some, unfortunately, they were given some data by someone well-meaning, but they didn't get their dates correct. And we had this big, DEQ accepted these dates as being accurate, and we were able to show that somebody said they had a good trip when the river was a certain level. They turned over here and said it was bad, and real high flow. You could see that this person had not taken a lot of care on the dates because they didn't realize that's what they were going to be used for. And DEQ used those things to set a minimum in-stream flow, I think, of 300 CFS. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that, unfortunately, in the river, you needed more than that to get over a lot of the obstacles in the river, sandbars, et cetera, et cetera. You needed more than that to be able to get your way down the river without getting out of your canoe and having fun.
You want to define CFS, cubic feet per second?
Cubic feet per second. Yeah, CFS is cubic feet per second of the flow, and we found it extremely important for recreational use. We didn't go far enough. I like where Steve's going with it. We'd like to know for other uses. Taking care of humans and animals and everything, how much water you need to pull out of the river. And what we're putting in the river, all these sewage treatment, I was thinking on the way down here, Rivanna is a fantastic river. It's a source of our drinking water, at least in Albemarle County. It's our drinking water, but it's also our sewer.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And what we're putting in the sewage water, all these pharmaceuticals are in that water. And the sewage treatment plants don't take them out. And that's why, in like Rockingham and other counties, they're having trouble with, what's going in their water. Sewage treatment's not taken out, and the fish are having a lot of abnormalities and stuff like that. It's, at one time, not that long ago in Charlottesville, when they've been debating this addition of chlorine to the water as a cleansing agent in the water treatment plant. This is drinking water. They were going to take the water below woolen mills and pump it back up above, back above the water treatment plant, and then run it back to use it again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this water was going to have all these pharmaceuticals in it. It's going to have prescription medicines for people, and women in particular are very, I guess, sensitive to, you don't have to have much of these chemicals in there. And there were a lot of chemicals not being used by humans. They're going through their system, they're going back into the water, not being taken out. Here they were going to take them back and use them again. Luckily, they decided not to do that, but I'm worried, I'd like to know more about chlorine and also, what's the one for your teeth? Fluoride. why they, you know, I wouldn't mind somebody doing some research in that. Some cities in America have taken fluoride out. Some people think fluoride is great and not bad for you.
I would like to say, as a follow-up to what David and Steve addressed with, and Chet with in-stream flows, is that we were surprised in the early days by the threshold for DCR at that time for monitoring, and the frequency of monitoring that was required in certain instances, whether it was water withdrawal from the river or discharges, and also the self-monitoring that was going on. That we were always concerned about that, and continue to be concerned today, because not much has changed, and there are many potentially harmful discharge sites that are required to self-monitor on a much less frequent time schedule than most people would think would be appropriate. You know, we never could understand why a development like Glenmore or a municipality wouldn't be required to have an electronic device that would track when water was being withdrawn, not necessarily not quantity, but to know if they were meeting their requirements for not withdrawing water during a particularly low flow period. You know, they don't even require that, and so there's a lot of self-monitoring. Well, there are a lot of shortcomings with what the state requires for monitoring, and I think it's going to continue to be kind of a hole in the whole water system management scenario until we have more stringent requirements on monitoring of municipalities' use of discharge of effluent, private subdivisions, you name it, everyone that has a straw in the water. And in closing, I'd like to say that lunch will be served at Walden. No. It's been a heck of a ride. We started out taking school groups up and down the rivers in canoes. I guess we started out by taking school groups down the river in canoes.
Yeah.
And to focus on the easy stuff. We were having to go for the low-hanging fruit. We didn't quite have our heads wrapped around all of how to best address the environmental issues. And so, you know, in the early days, we did outings for school kids to show them the historical features along the river. And we ended up getting a board member for a while by one of our local history teachers, which gave us access to a bunch of students. And the effort over 25 years, regardless of the specific focuses we have had and continue to have, has been to get more people on the river so that they can see what an amazing resource it is, how much there is to be gained from having a relationship with the river. And because, as we found over the years, that in and of itself is enough to make you be concerned about what's affecting it. And in many cases, as we've seen, has led to people becoming involved in protecting it. And that's what's built the support base that keeps organizations alive. And hopefully that will be the source of a support base that will allow organizations like the Rivanna Conservation Alliance to flourish in the future, and so that there's enough of a local grassroots interest and upswelling so that it's not so much of a problem. We're not fighting agencies, state agencies or federal agencies that will reach the point someday when the people who have grown up realizing that these are serious issues, that they will find themselves in positions to make effective change, and we'll start seeing trends in management of our water resources going from being reactive to proactive. And wouldn't it be a great thing if someday the Rivanna Conservation Alliance, or whatever its name might be at that time, would be just purely for allowing people to get together and fellowship and look at the successes, and because there was no longer a need to be fighting the battle of getting people to do what needs to be done. Now, this goes to show how critical, talking about the things that we learned over the years, in that early Land Trust Alliance, I think that was in 1991, at Waterville Valley, New Hampshire. We were all going to different workshops, but we had all heard in a general presentation that the thing that allowed grassroots organizations to grow and to be successful was getting to the point of being able to have a full-time administrator, executive director, which was a little hard for us to get our heads around. We were a year into passing the hat to get postage money and insurance premiums, and so we weren't sure that applied to everyone. But as we found a few years down the road, you can't do it without somebody at the helm to keep the organization focused, to keep everything organized. And the fact that we were able to, at some point, hire a part-time executive director proved to be a turning point in the organization. And then over time, as that process evolved into a full-time position, I think we saw the benefits increase. I can't tell you how many fold. Robbie Savage has been an amazing addition to the RCS effort, with her knowledge and her contacts and her background in water conservation. And we owe a great debt to the work that Robbie has done for the Rivanna Conservation Society. And we hope she will continue to do that for at least another 10 or 15 years for the Rivanna Conservation Alliance.